what I believe is having some sort of identity will enable that digital inclusion.
Earlier this year, I turned 40 and I wanted to do something meaningful alongside all of the celebrating. I decided to ask my community to support me in helping an underprivileged community and give them a small yet transformative boost. This is how the Rainbow Boosters project was born. In sharing the idea with people, I realised that we all know of a teacher, a family member, a friend, an author, a singer that's made a profound impact on our life. I wanted to create a space where we could share those stories. So welcome to the Rays of Sunshine series. Today, I'm delighted to be speaking to someone that I used to work with, Gautam Hazari. Gautam is a technology enthusiast and a futurist. He is currently the Chief Technology Officer at Sekura Mobile Intelligence, the global leader for mobile identity services. He has had success in leading and delivering large-scale projects across the world in digital identity, blockchain, payment solutions, 5G security, cybersecurity, and is recognized as a true leader, an innovator, and a change maker. Gautam absolutely believes in humanizing the technology world and is passionate about making our real life and our digital life a safer place to live. I had the pleasure of working with him for about 3 years and can honestly say he's one smart cookie. Hi Gautam, how are you?
Excellent. Great to meet you again, Pritesh. Great to talk to you. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, doing really well. Thank you so much for taking some time out to talk to me on this series. I want to get straight into it. This is all about rays of sunshine, right? So can you tell me who was your ray of sunshine? Who is the person, the teacher that's had the biggest impact on your life, and how do you think they shaped your future?
Thanks, Pritesh. I don't think I have told this thing to anyone, actually. I was just thinking through when you said that, right? I think it was 86 or to 88 as in my teenage. And as it happens, right, you try to create or you try to identify your identity, right? Yeah. And then everything feels like something is not right, right? There were probably a bit of anger inside me. I was complaining a lot. And at that time, of course, there was no email. So I was mentioning this to my uncle. So basically my mother's brother. His name was Subroto. It's written as Subrata, which means devoted to the right things. He was the most brilliant and thoughtful person I have ever seen in my life, right? So after almost a month, he wrote me a letter. I still remember it was 8 pages. Of course, there was no email or anything. And he basically started with saying, you know what? In life, there are 4 positions you need to think of. I am okay. You are okay. I am okay. You are not okay. I am not okay. You are okay. And I am not okay. And you're not okay. And he said that this is not something that I have invented. He said that, let me introduce you to the Canadian-born psychiatrist, Eric Berne. So he said that this is something, and I had no interest in psychiatry or psychology, right? But he said that he created something called transaction analysis. He said that you need to think in a way that there are 2 entities interacting. Whatever is the situation, you think that everything is wrong. You think that maybe there is some problem in you. Maybe you need to identify yourself with the problem or the solution. But what you need to think is there are 2 entities, right? When you say, I am okay, and then you can be anything or anyone. You can be a person, you can be a situation, you can be a problem, you can be the system, you can be society, you can be parents. Your goal is there is only one permanent state, which is the healthiest state, which is I am okay, you are okay. So your goal is to find out the position where you are in. So, and then he asked me, maybe figure out where you are in, right? Is it, I am not okay, you are not okay, you is the system, everything around you? If that is the case, that's the worst case situation, and that's the hopeless situation, right? So you need to just remember that situation is temporary. If it is, I am okay, you're not okay, you're a bit arrogant, right? You think that you're the best one and everyone around is, not that good. Still, that's a temporary situation. If you think I am not okay, you are okay, then you are getting a bit into a depression. You're, getting depressed. Again, that's a temporary situation. Figure out a way to go to the only permanent situation, which is I am okay, you are okay. And that has actually changed my life. I still, use it, but I never realized that what he was telling me was the first lesson to me about identity.
Right.
So he was actually defining identity for me, right? And then basically, I wrote an article recently where I said that what are the principles of identity, for example. And now I realize that those principles were actually derived from there, right? Identity is plural, it's all contextual, and so on. And the other very important thing there from Subrata, who was I used to call it Mama, there was a humanized approach there, right? Because when I was saying that, I was not blaming a person, I was blaming, the college, I was blaming the society, I was blaming the problems. They're not humans, but he was saying that treat them as you humanize them, then deal with it. And then the other thing I realized very late, that he was not just telling me that it's possible. He was not even, questioning it. He was saying, find a way to go to the I am okay, you are okay state. Yeah. So he was saying that don't even think that, can I believe it? Is it possible? He was saying, do it. Go to that state, right? So he was humanizing it. It was full of hope, right? That's what he was saying, that that's it. All these things are temporary. Go to that I am okay, you're okay state. And then that's about it. So he is my ray of sunshine. Not just that, I was saying it was an 8-page letter, right? Another very important thing that he mentioned is he created a distinction between intelligence and creativity. And then the angle was absolutely brilliant, right? He used the angle of freedom. He said that, forget about intelligence, forget about creativity. What do you think about freedom? I said, that's kind of the most important thing. He said, then, okay, good. So you establish freedom is important. Now he said that intelligence is great, but it doesn't bring in freedom. I couldn't understand. I said, what is it? Then he explained in there that, he said that when someone asks you a question, right, your answer could be simple, your answer could be brilliant, you can actually spell out intelligence in there, but are you really free in answering that? Because if someone is asking you a question about quantum mechanics, or someone is asking what is your name, right, you cannot tell your age. Yeah. So you can be intelligent, but there are boundaries to that answer. You are not free, right? That's intelligence. But someone who is asking question, they are not bound to it. They're creating the question. There is no boundary to it. They're free to ask whatever they want. So asking question is about creativity. So he said that creativity has more degrees of freedom. That's a term used in physics as well. Yeah. So in that case, try to be creative than intelligent, because when you're creative, you're much more, and that has stayed with me forever. So he was the ray of sunshine. And then whatever was there in that 8-page letter is what I'm doing now. So there was a element of hope. That's what I do. And then I have translated that hope into solution. That's what I do, right? I find out solutions because I always believe there is a solution, whether it's a technical challenge, whether it's, some sort of business challenge. So that has come from that hope that he wrote in that letter. And also, very importantly, I talk about humanization of technology. That came from the same letter because he gave a humanization solution to problems. So I am okay, you are okay, that you was humanized. That's what I do now. So yeah.
That's incredible. That is such a perfect example of what a ray of sunshine is. That 8-page letter, which was written with love and guidance and support, has completely molded who you are. Knowing all the different strands of how you interact, the reason you're called an innovator in those spaces is because you approach things with creativity, and you just shared why that's possible and why you are where you are as a result. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I hope that I got the sense that in reflection, you also felt a rejuvenation of your soul in telling that story, because it kind of clicked back in for you where it started.
Absolutely, Pritesh. Thanks a lot for giving this opportunity. And then, as I said, I have never shared this thing with anyone before. And then, yeah, I just lived back all those days. And then the other thing that happened is when I was thinking through that, I could relate to almost everything that I'm doing now and I have done, including all this identity journey. It's actually that was shaped the day I read that letter, actually.
It just gives me so much hope. And you talked about hope, but I'm a big believer of needing hope. It gives me so much hope for what small effort that we do and potentially could have such a big impact on others as we do this project. So thank you. I just want to carry on down this route a little bit because of influence. You shared before we started recording about some of the work that you're supporting with some of the children in slums and how they can and have been caught in their environment and society, but with a bit of support, a bit of teaching, access to mobile phones. Some of them are now performing at such a high level of education. Can you just talk us through that and share with that? Because I think it's a real good example of another application of what a little bit of support, a little bit of advice can really do for somebody.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pritesh. Many of us came from India to work decades back. And then we always wanted to give back because we cannot forget our humble, beginnings. And we were probably lucky that we got that opportunity to come down and then do things what we like to do and we are good at as well. But we realized that there are lots of other small kids. They're bright. Okay, they have capabilities, but the thing that they lack of are, examples, simple examples where they can see that it's achievable. Because what they're seeing around is some of the slum kids. They're bright, but they don't see the ray of sunshine, right? They're just trapped inside. So what we started to do was, and it's great that one of our friends' friend, he's also an engineer, but what he started to do was he used to visit around those slums, just talk to these small kids. And then what he did was, and this is something that's that I believe is important. Again, it's related to the humanization of technology, because the technology is for the humans, not the other way around. One thing that has happened in India is the government is doing a lot of work on digital inclusion, because that's extremely important through the Digital India initiative. And there are many private sector guys who are doing things as well. So mobile phone, and again, that's where I am linked to as well. Mobile phone is a survival tool in countries like India and also in sub-Saharan Africa, where the mobile phone is the window to the digital ecosystem. So the first time many of such kids are getting into the internet or the digital space is through mobile phone. It's not only mobile first, it's mobile only, right? And then that helps. So what we try to do is, these small kids, somehow they have mobile phone. And then not as a luxury item, because that's their survival thing. So some of them, for example, are doing, there is a food delivery service very popular in India. It's called Swiggy, for example. They do food deliveries, right? Whenever they can get and earn some small money. For that, they need a mobile phone. So that's their survival kit. It's their tool for doing their work. So anyway, so what we started to do was just spend half an hour of our time and to share our story. Not give complicated big lectures, but share our story, what we did, and now where we are right now. So that gives them an example, a point in space and time where they can see it's possible, right? And then we have seen that that's making a real impact. These guys are definitely getting more and more motivated. They're not losing hope. their because education is an enabler, is a tool for them. So they're continuing their education, because what we heard is many of the guys were they were getting demotivated and not continuing their education, because they thought, oh, what will happen? Nothing is achievable. So now they are continuing their education, and some of them, they have actually gone to some premium engineering institutes now, so they can see kind of splash of light, not just rays of sunshine.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really, proud of the things that's happening there.
When I was thinking back to your story about the letter from your mama, I was thinking, how do we make those connections in such a noisy digital world now, right? You get an email from somebody, you get a message, it doesn't connect in the same way. You try and send a video message or a voice note to have that same impact. And actually, what you're doing, what you're talking about there, the way to do the modern day version of that 8-page letter is to sit with people and tell them and make it personal for them and share with them what their opportunities and dreams can be in reality. And I guess that's the only way we can really do it, right? Because there's so much noise in the digital space now.
Absolutely. And the attention span, I mean, that's what is sad, probably. The attention span is getting reduced. So you'll see that even the motivational videos, there are 1-minute videos, right? You cannot share a story with 1-minute videos, and you need interactions as well, right? Body language makes a big difference as well. So as you very rightly said, we need to sit with them. We need to express ourselves, and most importantly, tell the stories, not just, give some abstract talk.
Staying with the power of words and thinking about the context of being inspired, is there a book that you has transformed your thinking or inspired you to take action towards your goals?
Yeah, there is an interesting thing here. I was actually I was doing a talk in one of the universities, and this is what I told them, right? I had very, very humble beginnings. My dad was running a very small shop in a very small city. We were not from Bombay, so it was a very small city called Ranchi. We couldn't, at that time there was no internet, and we couldn't afford to buy many books as well. One of the things, and I'll go there, the books, but before books, because it's information, right? At that time, when I was growing up as a kid, there were no supermarkets, right? There were small corner shops there. We never used to call them corner shops as well. Anything that you buy from there, right? They were not pre-packed. Yeah. They used to pack in magazine papers. I don't know when it all started. I used to get very, very interested in what's there in those magazine papers. Yeah. So I used to ask we used to live in a joint family, to my family, that don't throw them away, right? When you unpack all the grocery things in those used to be small packs, just keep them. And when I used to come back from school, I used to be very, very excited. I used to open them up, because it's almost like in Google you have "I am feeling lucky" thing, where you don't know what's coming up. Yeah. The excitement was, I don't know what will be there, right? Sometimes it was some news article from I still remember there was one from this magazine Nature, right? That's the first time I knew that there's a science magazine called Nature. Then there was one from Scientific American. So then I started to read anything and everything. Yeah. And then every single day, my excitement was, what will be there? Yeah. And I that actually created some sort of learning for everything. And it's easy, right? It doesn't cost anything. So that information is there. Now it's even easier. You have Google, information is free. And then you click that I am feeling lucky. And then you get some random information. And then that actually made a big difference on me. Not just sticking to one subject, on various subjects, and because that helps in creating your broader perspective, and also learning forever, right? I still do it now. Some of the other books, after I had that 8-page letter, I still remember, I picked up a book, which was an old book. It's called Flatland. I think it's called Flatland and the Romance of the Dimensions. It was by a school teacher called, I think, Abbott. I don't remember the first name. It was a satirical novel from 1884. it talks about, differences in society and uses geometrical shapes, right? Two-dimensional, one-dimensional shape. I understood it in a completely different way. I didn't pick that kind of societal satire. I picked it from, I started to relate it with multi-dimensional space in physics, because I was studying physics there. And then that changed my perspective of, and I started to like quantum mechanics. And that book was the reason I studied quantum mechanics. The other one was 1988, when I received that 8-page letter. The same year, this book was released by Stephen Hawking, The Brief History of Time. I still remember I read back to back 7 times the same book, because I didn't treat it as some sort of scientific book. It was the most creative book that I thought existed. So these are the, not one book, but books, and also things. I don't know what to call those magazine papers. They're not books, but again, the objective is same, right?
Yeah, I know that anyone listening to this who knows you will have a smile on their face thinking about a younger version of yourself running home from school to find the latest magazine to support your curiosity of what's to come, that excitement, because that's definitely stayed with you and continued to form who you are. So I think it's fascinating. I recently watched your TEDx video, which was titled Digital Me, and you talk passionately about the complex issue of privacy, security, and the advancements in technology. For the students that we're looking to help, they don't even exist in the digital world yet. And as we look to bring them into that world, how do you feel that we should be managing their experiences and their expectations as they take what is probably the biggest leap for somebody from not having that identity to having a double identity, as you talk about it in your TEDx talk?
They may start to get into some sort of digital world, not exactly through how we see it. As I was saying, that the kids that we are supporting in the slums, they don't have laptops. They don't have any, kind of other form of broadband or anything, but they have mobile phones as a survival tool, right? So that's their gateway to the digital world. So that's one way of looking into this as well. I mean, you don't need kind of really sophisticated things, because the digital world is very contextual, right? The way we see it, so I am accessing it from my laptop, right? But that doesn't have to be the only window. I know if that window is there, that helps a lot. But the bootstrapping of that can happen through other means as well, like the survival tool, mobile phone. And again, because my background is, as you know, is mobile, I'll probably talk about that. I might be biased as well. But what I believe is having some sort of identity will enable that digital inclusion as well. So the UNCRC Article 8 says every child has a right to identity. It doesn't talk about digital identity, but identity. But I can extend that as digital identity. Because if you don't have an identity, then you are excluded from many of the digital, things that's happening. Because otherwise you're just a number. So the identity and digital identity converts a number into a human. So it humanizes it. And that's why I am actually passionate about identity. And also, the SDG, you were also involved when you were in GSMA, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. So the 16.9 says that every single individual on Earth should have an identity by 2030. The irony is, and again, I mean, this is linked to that digital inclusion, that there are more than 1.1 billion individuals, mostly smaller kids in Southeast Asia, in India, and also in Sub-Saharan Africa. They don't have any identity. That is a barrier for them to get into any sort of inclusion, including digital inclusion. So I guess they're actually probably, they will feed each other when these, let's say, kids will start to have some sort of identity, digital identity, for example, through their mobile phone. That will help them to get included in the digital space as well, because then they'll be humanized.
Yeah.
They'll not just be a number.
Yeah, it gives them a massive leg up.
Yeah.
You know, you reminded me of the Pakistan journey that we took in Case for Change, which was all around digital identity, and kids in this generation were being fast-tracked to be included in the world because the mobile operators were giving them a way to register using their mobile phones to be recognized and to be able to go to school and vote and all those things. So yeah, really powerful things. And I'm a massive advocate for mobile as well. So I want to close out just really, really happy that we've been able to talk about some of these things. Can you share one positive message or quote that's inspired you throughout your life and continues to motivate you?
Absolutely. Thanks, Pritesh. So one of the quote that has stayed with me, and again, I realize now that a form of that has stayed from that 8-page letter till now as well, is a quote from Steve Jobs. He said, or he believed rather, that technology should either be beautiful or it should be invisible. What he was talking about actually is, that's what my interpretation is. He was talking about humanization of technology. So technology doesn't need to, even exist what you can touch or feel, right? Like this digital inclusion. Whatever is that, let's say, window, whether it is a mobile phone, a feature phone, or whether it's a laptop, or whether it's in the future, who knows what, right? That doesn't need to be visible because there is a human behind that, right? That human is the consumer or the user of that. So I believe that Steve Jobs was talking about, or almost explaining in the simplest form, like what he was best at, was talking about humanization of technology. That's a quote that has stayed with me, and it will stay forever.
Yeah, thank you. That's brilliant. I just want to say thank you for not only your time today, but reinstilling the hope and just giving that a boost that rays of sunshine exist in all of our walks of life. You yourself are one for the people that you're helping, and for everyone that you shared your story with today. And also that it doesn't take much. We're in such a transformative world that it's actually the simplest things that make the biggest impact. So yeah, I'm really glad that you were able to make this happen. And just thank you again for sharing your thoughts and your stories. This Rays of Sunshine series is linked to the Rainbow Boosters project, where we're supporting underprivileged children by connecting them to the internet and a community to ensure that they don't get left behind in our digital world. You could check out more at rainbowboosters.com. All the links will be in the comments below, and the next episode will be with you in a few days. Thank you so much, Gautam, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Pritesh. Thank you.